What's going on, guys? Welcome back to F1 22 for My Team Career Mode Season 2, round number 14, the United States Grand Prix. First time at the Circuit of the Americas in F1 22 for us. And yeah, interested to see how this one will go. It's a track that I do quite like, but I've never been... It's one of those tracks that I've never been great at, but it's not one of the ones that I've massively struggled on. So yeah, be interesting to see how things play out in this game and in this race. We're going to put a couple of upgrades on the car. An aerodynamic upgrade unfortunately failed coming into this one, so we're going to have to re-put that on the car. So that'll be coming out in the next couple of races. We have a new rival to choose for the last couple of races. Lewis Hamilton, Carlos Sainz and Fernando Alonso. For me, it was a pretty easy choice. Out of those three, Alonso is the only one that we've maybe got a chance of beating. The other two are, I mean, look at R&D here. They're going to be further ahead. And everything's closing up quite a lot at the front. Ferrari are now inching a little bit away from Red Bull and Mercedes, who are now right on top of each other. McLaren and Alpine still right there. We're kind of on our own, just outside the top 5 teams, but a little bit ahead of Alfa Romeo and now Williams. Actually, I think Williams might even be the 7th fastest team behind us. So yeah, it's getting very close throughout the whole field now, which is a bit of a worry because this track, like I said, it's one that I don't struggle at too much, but it is one that I do struggle at a little bit. And with Magnussen seemingly getting better now, at least in his qualifying pace, with that, you know, that second simulator upgrade for personnel that I did a couple of races ago. He of course beat us in qualifying at Singapore last time out. Q1 here, he does beat us again. P10 for him, P12 for us, and it definitely wasn't a perfect run for me. So yeah, I was relatively happy with that performance, to be honest. No real shocks going out in Q1 there. And maybe a Haas, but the Haas are kind of towards the bottom of the field now. But like I said, everything is so close. You've got the top group, you've got me kind of on my own, and then kind of the bottom group fairly close together as well. So unfortunately we don't get through to Q3. This is the section here that I have the most trouble with, the S's section. It's the section that at any track that has S's, so be it here, Silverstone, Mexico, Japan, I struggle in those sections. Now Silverstone on this game, I seem to be quite a bit better in the S's section on this game than I had been in previous games. This track, it seems to be about the same, to be honest. This actually seems to be one of the examples where I'm probably struggling about as much as I usually would do in previous games. Thankfully, the rest of the track I'm pretty good with on this game. The rest of the corners, sorry, I'm pretty good with on this track. It's just that S section that I am a little bit... I'm not great at on this track, I will be honest. And I also had the disadvantage in this race of... I did this race just after the kind of sports livery update came out, and with that update also came a change in kind of a wheel tyre allocation, and I didn't realise that, and I didn't change my tyre allocation, so I only ended up having one set of softs for each qualifying session instead of like 2 sets, because it put me with a set of softs and a set of mediums for Q1, set of softs and a set of hards for Q2, and I mean that just wasn't going to work for me. So unfortunately I kind of had to go with just the one set of softs, set that fastest time, went for another lap straight afterwards because I did have the battery charge and the fuel, and unfortunately spun the car round, so that wasn't great. And as I go around the next corner, obviously the tyres are rather hot at this point and it just literally spins on its own, so that was a bit unfortunate there, but I don't think I was really going to be going that much faster. It wasn't going to get me into Q3 anyway. In the end, Magnussen just misses out, P11 for him. It's P14 for us, so not as good as I was hoping. I was hoping P12, P13, but yeah, it's not too bad. And we'll see with grid penalties where we stack up for the race.
Welcome once again then to the United States Grand Prix here in the magnificent city of Austin. It was here in 2018 that Kimi Räikkönen delighted the world by taking the top step of the podium for the first time in 114 races. There's always a record to be broken, so what, I wonder, is in store for us here today? We're racing today then in Travis County, Texas, where 20 corners and speeds of up to 200 miles per hour await us on this magnificent racetrack. It's 60% full throttle with plenty of good opportunities to pass, especially through the 2 DRS zones into turn 1 and the long back straight into turn 12. What a race we have in store today. So with the race not far away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. It's Carlos Sainz in pole position, and Lando Norris lines up alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Fernando Alonso, Leclerc, Max Verstappen and Hamilton, Ricciardo, Ocon, Stroll and Alex Albon, Shaw, Mick Schumacher, George Russell and Bottas, Vettel, Magnussen, Pierre Gasly and Nicholas Latifi. They'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. Joe, Schwartzman, Liam Lawson, they've taken a grid penalty, and Yuki Tsunoda. With preparations almost complete, let's head down to the track. Natalie Binkham joins me once again in the commentary box. It's fantastic to have you with us today. I'm curious though, how do you think the drivers stop those pre-race nerves from becoming overwhelming when you're lining up on the grid?
Well, I imagine they'll be starting to feel the adrenaline as they anticipate the rundown into turn 1, a bit like preparing to go into battle. The unknown situation will bring nerves, but that's a good thing. It'll keep them focused on the moment and on their surroundings as we build towards the start of the Grand Prix.
Alright, so a few grid penalties for drivers, and unfortunately Kevin Magnussen is one of those yet again. It seems that whenever he gets a good qualifying, he either has a mechanical issue like he did in Singapore last time, or he has a grid penalty. So really unfortunate. He's down in like P16. We're starting in P11, just behind Albon, who's once again starting in the top 10. I mean, that Williams is getting better on R&D as well, and we've seen how much Albon has been outperforming that car when it hasn't had the pace. So we're really excited for what he can do towards the end of this season if Williams keep their progression up. But here we go, 5 red lights for the United States Grand Prix. Lights out and away we go. It is not a great start for us, to be honest. It's a good start for Albon though ahead, and it's a good start for Schumacher in the Haas alongside us. We block off Bottas, but Bottas then goes for a big dive on Albon and Stroll up ahead. We are alongside Schumacher as we come into the S's section and just about manage to stay ahead of him. But we have lost that position to Bottas, of all people, up ahead as we have a look at this big train of cars coming through the S's for the first time here. Very nice to see there, some great camera angles on this track. And yeah, we're just going to try and continue on here. Russell behind, trying to make a move on Schumacher. He's starting out of position because of a grid penalty. Lots of drivers taking penalties here, to be honest, as Russell is actually now having a look at the outside of us, coming onto the back straight here. And as much as I know Russell's going to be quicker than us, I don't really want to lose the position to him, because I really need to be putting pressure on the cars ahead. There's a few guys up ahead that I should be able to overtake here. So I don't really want to waste my time fighting with Russell so much at the moment. So we're just going to try and keep him at bay for now in these early couple of laps, early few corners at least, and just continue on here and try and stick with Bottas, because I mean, Bottas, Albon, we should be able to pass in this race. Everyone else up ahead, possibly not, unless something crazy happens, but we should at least be getting past Bottas and Albon, as Russell is still looking. He's actually gone for a bit of a dive into the second to last corner. He's eager to get past me on this first lap, but it's not going to be at the moment as we go on to lap number 2 here, still hooked up behind Bottas and trying to at the moment stay ahead of Russell. But this is going to just continue on here as we then run a bit wide through the second to last corner, really struggling through that corner. Russell goes for a dive into the final corner. We're going to be side by side as we cross the line onto lap number 3, but I've got the better exit and I've got plenty of ERS to deploy as well. We're going to go defensive to the inside. He's going to go try and go round the outside of turn 1, but doesn't have the grip. We've got the better run and we're going to stay ahead of Russell for now. And Bottas seems to be struggling a little bit, losing a bit of time to Albon ahead. So we're going to try and make the most of that. Go late on the brakes into this next corner and down the back straight, this time with DRS activated. And I don't think, no he doesn't, Bottas does not have DRS from Albon. And it's going to be an easy overtake on Bottas, and that means we're going to put a car in between us and Russell, because Russell's going to be the annoying one here. He's going to be constantly pressuring us, so we can get a car between him. That's going to work well. At the front, and Carlos Sainz is leading from pole position quite considerably there. A bit of a gap to Lando Norris behind. Charles Leclerc, Sainz's teammate, in third place, but he's gone for a move. 4-second big dive up the inside of Norris into turn 1, but a bit too big of a dive. Makes a little bit of contact. Don't think there's any damage, but Leclerc unfortunately cannot make the move there and is now under pressure from Fernando Alonso in P4. So yeah, a bit of battling going on in the top. Well, from second down, Sainz is absolutely running away with this at the front, as we are now behind Alex Albon, trying to make positions on him. We've got a massive gap to Bottas now. Bottas has just completely fallen off the cliff here, it seems, after we've overtaken him, and we are now just trying to make a move on Albon. My teammate Magnussen is showing decent pace here, but the penalty just has not really done him good here, and he's actually, I think, lost a few places from the start, because he's only just now on lap number 7 overtaken Latifi. So Magnussen once again not doing as good as I hoped here, but the penalty definitely not helping him. The two Haas's having a bit of a squabble. Mick Schumacher ran wide through one of the corners there. Schwartzman went for a move on him. Mick Schumacher's now got Gasly up the inside of him, but then he's going to go up the inside of his teammate once again. It's a Haas battle going on here. Schumacher back ahead in this battle, but now Schwartzman has the DRS, and he's going to try and go round the outside in through turn 1. Mick Schumacher, though, just about staying ahead at the moment, but a little bit of a wiggle. Schwartzman gets a better run out of turn 1. The two Haas's still side by side as they go into the S section, still side by side at this point right here, but I think right now, there we go, Schumacher has just about managed to get ahead. And the two Aston Martins going to have a little bit of a similar battle here as Lawson runs wide out of that same corner that Schumacher did. Vettel finds himself around the outside as they go around the final corner here, but Lawson not giving this one up too easily. Of course, these Aston Martins looking a little bit different now from what they did in this new liveries update. They've got the new side pods and a bit more carbon fibre on the car, so quite a few of the cars, pretty much every car on the grid actually, bar my car, looking a little bit different this time around because of that update. As we now have caught up to the back of Albon, we've been behind him for a few laps, but now he's run away, Stroll's run away from him, no longer has DRS. We're going to go side by side through the next corner. We don't quite get the move done, so we're still going to be side by side through this next part here, but we have the grip, we have the better line, and we're ahead of Albon now, up into P8. So, yeah, things going relatively good for us so far, however, not making as much quick progress as I would have maybe hoped. Vettel now is once again under fire from his teammate Lawson, going for a big dive, going onto the back straight here, and he is ahead of his teammate, but Sebastian Vettel is going to tuck right up behind him with DRS and pull to the outside once again. These guys having a great little battle right at the back of the field here, as Lawson's still trying to keep that position, and in the end Vettel has to give in. His more inexperienced teammate, and my previous teammate Liam Lawson, has managed to get the move done on the 4-time world champion. Lap number 13, and we're into the pits for our stop, our one and only stop onto the hard compound tyres. Into the pits we come. The front left though is very, very slow coming off. Really slow pit stop there for us, and in the end we come out of our pit box and we've been undercut by Albon in the pits there. Well, not undercut, we both came in at the same time, but Albon's got back past us in the pits because of that slow pit stop. That is very unfortunate. We're going to have to make all that move back up again. We're going to have to make that position back up again on Albon. As towards the front, this battle for second place still going on here with Norris second, Leclerc third, Verstappen the championship leader in fourth, and Fernando Alonso now dropped down to fifth. And yeah, it's all heating up in that top battle for the last two positions on the podium. As now though, Robert Schwartzman spins in the Haas just after the back straight, comes out just behind my teammate Kevin Magnussen, but ahead of Daniel Ricciardo in the McLaren. So not a great race from Schwartzman there. Was having a good run battling with his teammate, but unfortunately that spin has cost him a little bit there. We continue on again, and Albon's actually putting in some good times now on these hard tyres, and we're struggling to keep up with him. But I've heard over the radio that Fernando Alonso has an issue and he's dropping back. He was, remember, battling for a podium. He's now been overtaken by Verstappen, and he's now being overtaken by his teammate Esteban Ocon. This is terrible for Alonso. He was on the bridges of a podium last time out in Singapore, but strategy ultimately was his downfall. This time it is unfortunately a car issue, much like in real life, that's going to prevent him from a good result here. We are catching up to Albon like crazy on this lap. He goes defensive though into the final corner, but then runs a little bit too deep. We spot an opportunity, dive to the inside. We're going to go for a dive up the inside of this next corner. Great battling with Albon in this race, and we get ahead of him once again. Annoying that we had to do that move for a second time because of the pit stop, but we're back up now into P8, and now we've actually got Alonso to track down, because with his issue he's a lot slower than he should be. Leclerc still trying to make a move for second on Lando Norris. It's another big dive bomb up the inside into the first corner, but once again just locks up a little bit too wide, bit too eager on the brakes, and clatters into Lando Norris. Manages to stay a bit closer to him this time, but Norris still sticks onto P2, and Verstappen is there waiting in P4, and Leclerc will definitely not want Verstappen overtaking him here if he still wants a chance at this championship. It's not all over yet for Leclerc. It's also not over for me to make up another position for P7. Albon's kind of managed to follow me through here. He's still within DRS. We've made a very easy move on Fernando Alonso because he's really struggling with that car now. Must have an engine issue or something, because he is rather slow. And just as we come onto lap 24, the safety car is deployed. It's a very, very late safety car here, right in the last few laps of the race. Albon did not manage to make his way past Alonso yet, so that actually might help Alonso out if his car can be fixed, if the mechanical issue can be resolved in this safety car period. And this came out because Gasly spun round on the back straight, well, off the back straights here. Couldn't find anything else that happened here. My engineer said multiple cars stopped on the track, but that's the only incident I could find, so not sure why that warranted a safety car. But anyway, it happened, and we're going to have a 2-lap final sprint at the end of this race once the safety car comes in. Lap 27 of 28, 2 more laps to go on this race, and we are in P7, and just got to see if, well, firstly, has Fernando Alonso still got that mechanical issue? And as we see, Lewis Hamilton actually getting lapped there because Hamilton's had a bit of an issue. I think he started on the soft tyres, and then he came in for a pit stop and then made contact with one of the slower cars. And ultimately, it's been a dreadful race for both Mercedes. They're both going to finish outside the points as Bottas goes too wide through the S's there and lets Russell and one of the Hasses, I think, through. But that's still not for points for Russell, I don't think, or it might be right on the fringes of points. It's all in all not a good day for Mercedes, to be completely honest. We are just sticking here with Stroll. It looks like Alonso has had his issue fixed because he's managing to stick there with us, but in the end we're going to just about manage to keep him at bay. We're going to hold on to P7. At the front though, Carlos Sainz has absolutely dominated this race from pole position. He hasn't looked back from the start of the race. He pulled out a 2.5, almost 3 second lead. I think it might have even been a 3 second lead in the end, even after just 2 laps under the safety car and a 2-lap sprint at the end. He's going to win in fairly dominant fashion here for his second win of the season. We're going to come home for a pretty decent P7. Would have probably been P8 if the race continued on, because Alonso was looking quicker. His car did seem to be fixed, but unfortunately for him, but fortunate for us, we keep onto the position. P7 for us, some more good points, and that's USA wrapped up.
That's a spectacular victory, and with it, the championship is secure. It's been a magnificent season, and they thoroughly deserve the cheers of the crowd here today. So, Natalie, what do you think helped them deliver this result?
Well, they certainly stood out as a driver with tons of confidence on the track. I think their ability to keep their cool, even during some of the more hectic parts of the race, meant they were able to capitalise on the mistakes of other drivers giving them the opportunity to make their way to the top spot with ease.
Looking at the podium, you can see that red suit familiar to fans across the globe. A world-class win for a world-class team. Ferrari do it again.
So Carlos Sainz wins the United States Grand Prix. Lando Norris, another P2 for him. Very good result for McLaren and Lando Norris. And Charles Leclerc comes home P3, finishing ahead of Max Verstappen. So that is good for his championship fight. This race also meant that Ferrari would win the Constructors' Championship. They are Constructors' Championship champions 2 years in a row. They're right on the cusp of winning the Drivers' Championship this time, but they've won the Constructors thanks to really Stroll at Red Bull not performing where he should have been. But yeah, Verstappen ends up P4. It's Ocon P5, Stroll P6, we end up P7, Alonso P8, Mick Schumacher picks up his first points for Haas in P9, and George Russell in the end does pick up 1 point for Mercedes, so it's not all terrible. Hamilton though P21, the last of the finishers, so not a good result from him. In the Drivers' Championship, Ocon moves ahead of us into P8, Ricciardo's down to P11, we're still there in P9, Magnussen is down in P14, so Magnussen's still yet to score points for our team. I think he needs to score points for us if we want to consider keeping him in the team for next season. He has to score points. But yeah, and then the Constructors, no changes, but like I said, Ferrari have now sealed the Constructors' Championship for a second season in a row. So good on them for that one. But anyway, that's going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed, please go ahead, like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.